Durant can plant and go both ways, but no, it doesn't count, so the highlight is not complete.
I mean, he's just coming off an injury. Don't bother, Ricky.
Clearly, he has to take it so slow. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols alongside former NBA head coach David Fizdale, ESPN senior writer Ramona Shelburne. Coming up, guys, Paul George and Devin Booker got into a heated argument during the game last night. Paul said afterward he has been the target of more trash talk this season than in the past. Does he still have work to do to silence his doubters? We're going to discuss that. First, though, a lot of sports is binary, right? The ball goes in or it doesn't. It's called a foul or it isn't. Either you win or you don't. There is no gray area. So it's not shocking that over this past weekend, there was a lot of binary talk about Steph Curry, especially if you go back to Friday night when Portland thumped the Warriors by 25. Curry was still Golden State's leading scorer that night, but even he called the evening, quote, demoralizing after making just 4 of his 12 three-point attempts and finishing the game a minus 27. And boy, did that get people talking. Depending on which corner of the internet you hang out on, you heard Steph described as either a martyred saint whose otherworldly trials included roster instability, injuries, and the boxing one, or as an aging, overhyped role player who can't cross the street without a Kevin Durant-shaped cane in his hand. For days, the debate raged, stirred further by some Damian Lillard comments about how, quote, it's different than the past 4 or 5 years for Steph, and that, quote, he's seeing it's tough to get those quality looks now. Of course, if you actually listen to the full interview, Lillard was not remotely taking a shot at Curry. He was making a much larger point about how both for him and Steph Curry, there is sometimes not much you can do when an opposing coach is throwing 3 or 4 defenders at you on every trip down the court. But the Steph is overrated crowd grabbed those Lillard headlines and ran with them so loudly that even Steph himself couldn't ignore all the buzz. By the time he stepped onto the court last night for the bookend of the Warriors' 2-game homestand against Portland, he was determined that things go differently, and boy, did they, as Steph brought out all the tricks. Handles? Yeah, check. Woo! Little reverse up and under there? Yeah, no problem. Yeah, he can just do that, Fizz. And the threes, off balance, no problem.
I love it.
Catch and shoot.
I mean, goodness. I mean,
no problem.
You talking about one of the 2-time MVPs, Rach.
Woo! Woo! Now, it was not the most important game of Steph Curry's career, but it was one of the best he's ever had statistically. And even in a mostly empty arena, there was that other essential part of any true Steph Curry masterpiece, that kind of liquid joy that spills across the court and uplifts an entire team. Like, say, rookie James Wiseman, who racked up his first career double-double. In the locker room after the game, Steve Kerr gathered the team and actually said he was going to give the game ball to Wiseman, pump faking it toward the youngster before then instead sending the ball to Steph. The stunt sent several guys to the floor laughing, and then when they met with the media afterwards, they were universal in their praise, not just for Steph's game, but the way he had handled the tornado of criticism all weekend.
I think that was right up there with the majority of them. I mean, with the best of them. Just because of, all the talk that's been going around. I could just see, like, Steph has a tendency at times to kind of around with the basketball. There was no around. He came out and everything was shot or attack. Like, and me, I watch a guy's eyes. He never looked to pass once in the beginning of the game.
It's crazy. It reminded me of 2K because I used to play with Steph all the time, and I used to drop like 60. So just like actually watching it personally, that was phenomenal.
And then there was Steph himself making a last dance joke.
You the Jordan meme, right? I take all that personally. I don't get frazzled too easily, and very confident in who I am, and as a person, as a basketball player, and there's not going to be anything you can say about me or to me that's going to affect that. It's going to be that kind of narrative from here on out, and I love it.
I had hoped for a brief moment that Steph's performance may quell some of that binary talk online. Of course, that wasn't going to happen. Even as Steph was still at the podium, debate was raging between the I told you so crowd versus the hey, it's just a regular season game crew. The truth, of course, is somewhere in the middle. Steph is a generational, truly great player who also does need to figure out this season how to make more of a nightly impact leading a depleted team. It's not a binary problem, and last night's outburst cannot be the regular solution. No one can put up historic numbers every night. It doesn't work that way. But at least for 48 minutes, amid all the talk, it was Steph Curry who had the loudest word. Either the ball goes in or it doesn't, and last night it did, a lot. So, Fizz, you already knew how good Steph Curry was. What stood out to you watching last night, especially considering all the talk?
It's tough to even follow Draymond Green. Right? I mean, he hit it on the head. Well, you know your teammates well. When they don't look to pass, when the great ones just say, hell with it, I'm about to show you, you know that they're on a mission. And he was on a mission. It just makes the league exciting for me because, going into the season, Golden State, I was like, yes, we're getting back to this. And to see Clay go down, I think everybody kind of had the wind taken out of them. But Steph just reminded everybody that they're still going to be in this fight. And I think the toughest thing and the thing everyone's going to watch is, can he do it at a high level? Not 62 a night, come on, but the Steph Curry level that we've been grown accustomed to. Can he do that on a nightly basis and get his team a chance to get into the playoffs?
Well, look, they've had so many times where Steph Curry goes off like this, but they usually have so many other people who go off at the same time Steph does. Like, and Rachel, I love how you put that liquid joy. He has this infectious game, and to do that when there's no fans there to feed off of him and to cheer him and the Warriors on, I thought that's what really made this game special. But the one thing that he's been struggling with this whole time is he wants to get his teammates going, right? But that can't come at the detriment of his own game and his own aggressiveness. And that's what I thought the difference was last night, is that he was aggressive, he was attacking, and that will feed to his teammates. Now, in the past, we used to refer to them as strength in numbers, right? That's why the Warriors were so good. They were so deep. I don't think we appreciated it at the time. The people in Oakland, they appreciated it. The coaches appreciated it. Now we all appreciated it because Steph is out there many nights with a bunch of rookies, young players, and Kelly Oubre, who's still trying to find a shot. So for him to do that with no crowd, nobody else to feed off of, that's what was so impressive.
And also, by the way, how Draymond Green plays in these games affects Steph. And Draymond did not score buckets last night. Everyone's talked about his stat line. But defensively, the way he played, the tone he set, the way he helped and enabled James Wiseman have that double-double, there is no replacement for this. Draymond Green was Draymond Green last night. And he's talked about needing a few games to get the wind back into him and everything. But if he can do what he did last night, he doesn't have to score a point. He still makes things easier for Steph and easier for the other guys around him, and that is why they had so much strength in all those numbers, Ramona, as you note. Now, I know the story was Steph and this huge explosion last night, but Fizz, for you as a coach, did the win over the Blazers map out anything for you, bigger picture, about how the Warriors can play this season?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is a great moment to really get a lift off for their team. Draymond Green is just getting his legs underneath him. And then the Steph Curry that these young guys are used to watching from a distance, they got to see it up close. And all that does is galvanize guys around you. They gain more confidence. They feel more confident. And with Draymond Green, I've never looked at his stat line other than plus minus.
Right.
And a lot of people don't like the plus minus category, but I always put the film together with the plus minus.
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. And his film always says, I'm helping my team and my teammates win basketball games. I don't care about the other statistical categories with him. I just look at that. And last night, plus 22. Draymond Green is going to slowly work his way back to who he is. He's got that monster lob threat down there, and Steph Curry coming along very fine.
Well, you know what you pointed out earlier, Rachel, which I think is right on, is Draymond Green and the way he passes, the way he facilitates that offense is everything for the Warriors. And it's what Steph was trying to do in his absence, but that's not, Steph can't do everything. He can't score and pass and make his teammates better and defend. He's got to just let Draymond be in that role. And you saw all those highlights we saw? almost every single one of them was Draymond Green facilitating. It's something that I don't think we appreciated because we talk so much about Draymond as a defender and his trash talk. He's a great passer. Just an absolute great passer. Wow, that's a heck of a list.
Right?
Look at that.
Don't forget, people, he's not nice. Don't let the baby face fool you.
That's right.
He's ripped my heart out along with a whole lot of other people's hearts.
You know personally.
Oh, my God. You talk about two-time MVP. That is not easy to come by. We're talking about arguably the greatest shooter in our game ever. But this generation, him and Clay are just battling over it.
That is certainly true. And Ramona, just to follow up on what you said earlier, I do think him having the ball in his hands more was a factor, right? You talked about the idea that he's been trying to get everybody else involved. And at this point, as Draymond said, he was not looking to pass last night. I don't, again, know if he's going to have that many touches. You look at his numbers. I mean, they were the highest they had been for him on those kinds of categories in 4 or 5 years. I don't know if he's going to do that every night, but the idea that he could be a little bit more ball dominant is something that I know I heard the Warriors talking about post-game last night, and we'll have to see if that continues going forward. All right, guys, coming up, we're going to head over to the gridiron where the Titans beat the Texans thanks to a doinked field goal as time expired. And you know how Professor Bodmer is when he gets in his lab. The best NBA doink winners ever. Stick around for that. First, though, it's time for our distant replay. This date, 1998. You just saw his name on that list, Mr. Kobe Bryant.
Mamba.
Oh, he can fly.
Make, miss. It's a make or miss league, baby. That's it.
In the end, that's it. I agree with Kawhi. Make Arrested Development. Hornets Sixers. Tobias Harris calls his own number and packs it.
Ooh.
Ramona Harris looking like Clippers Harris this year.
I don't know. I think that Doc Rivers has really
That
designed
was
some things to get him going.
I know Tobias
Just
Harris.
going to point out
Wait.
the topic bar
Yumbo.
at the bottom of the screen for the Arrested Development fans there. Just saying.
Sorry.
Doubts Bodmer.
Sorry.
Miss Showtime. Bulls down almost 30, but Denzel Valentine decides it's a good time to get flashy, and it did not go well. If you were his coach, Fizz, what would you be saying to him in this situation?
We have to have a conversation about that one. This is not and one mixtapes, buddy. Go get a
I used to
layup.
do things like that when I played Fizz. You would
See,
hate me.
you
My
were
coach
probably
was like,
uncoachable.
what are you doing?
Uncoachable. But you probably made all your shots too, so you was probably
No,
tough to
I
take out of
didn't.
game.
I was just a total hot dog. It was just ridiculous.
I think we're going to need some video, Ramona. That's a
know.
note to
We gotta
self
get
for
that
next time.
film.
I grew up watching Magic. I'm sorry.
Make decals. Lakers Grizz. LeBron pulling up from the logo. Fizz, did he do this when you were coaching him in Miami?
Yes. Yes, he did. And he always
Look.
Sometimes he just feels like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. And I think sometimes you just got, as a coach, hope that it goes in and look the other way if he misses.
Gonna have to guard him from there now.
Well, he is 36 years old now, 18 seasons, and I love that I still see things on the court. I mean, look how happy he was with himself after he hit that logo shot.
He can hit that shot from about 30 feet further back because he's so strong.
Well, he does the, the full court Kevin Love
Football pass,
lobs,
yeah.
right?
It's ridiculous.
Some of those can go in the hoop. All
Gonna
right.
have to guard him.
Miss Gravity, Hawks Nets, fourth quarter. Hawks up big. John Collins elevates over Jared Allen, and that's not just anyone. That's Jared Allen.
He goes and gets it.
That's right. It's I don't know, Ramona. Business decision by Allen there. I mean,
No, you know what? He got in there and contested really well. And if you notice, he hung a little in the air there. John Collins had to pause, wait for Jared Allen to fly by. This is why he could be a dunk champ.
wait, why are the producers putting the airplane video in there? That's not right. Do not bring a man back to a low moment after a high moment. Let him have his. I done this right. Good point.
He dunked on him. That's getting dunked on right there.
He had to let him fly by.
But Jared Allen's gonna go after it every single time.
I feel bad for that airplane. Make doinks. Titans with a chance to win it. Let's go over the NFL here.
Wow.
I like this.
Doink. Here we go. Doink. There it is. Does not go. Oh, it did go in. Right, yes.
Yes.
He made it.
Do you think he called doink?
No, he did not call doink.
Doink.
But he is a happy man because it went in. I'll tell you that.
There you go. I always need the replay on the field goals when it first goes in. I'm like, what are they doing? Are they going here? Are they going?
I could be standing right there and I still couldn't tell.
Yes. Time to run it back with the best doink winners ever. 2014. Blake Griffin against the Suns.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, just held on.
Game winner.
Look, that's pretty tame for Ballmer.
2012. I know, that's so nice, right?
That is tame for Ballmer.
2012, KD versus the Mavericks. This is the first round of the playoffs.
Look at how tough that shot is.
Boom.
See, I think that's touch.
This is a touch shot.
This isn't a doink.
That's touch, absolutely. And he's the only guy in the league that can make that shot.
Use that backboard. 1999, Allen Houston in Miami.
That's touch. That's touch.
Can you see little producer Steve in front of the TV? He didn't have that shot also?
A Knicks highlight.
I remember that right there. It ripped the hearts out of everyone in Miami. That was a tough one. It's a tough spill to swallow. What up, hey?
Sorry, Fizz. 86, Ralph Sampson. Historical doink.
Oh, you talking about some people in LA just, heartbroken. Never looked at the rim.
I was going to say, we're ripping apart both Fizz's childhood and his early work years here. You know it was coming. 2019.
The best doink
Kawhi calls doink.
Oh, wow. I mean, you can't contest it any better. I mean, that is a big time shot. Wow.
I still don't know how he got it over him.
Look at that.
Man.
7'3" in your face.
The fate of so much.
The Sixers
if that
felt some
ball
pain.
had tipped a little bit one way or the other. I'm just saying. All right, coming up next, you will hear Paul George's reaction to this dust-up with Devin Booker last night. Does PG still need to silence his doubters? We will discuss that. But first, here's what The Jump recommends for today. Kevin Pelton ranks the 7 surprise teams in the NBA this season. Head over to the app to see where the Hawks, Pelicans, and Suns rank. After the break, Fizz and Ramona are going to tell me if they're buying the Suns 5-2 start. Boom.
I'll be honest, the Clippers might need this. You see, Paul George frustrated. There are not many players in league history that are better at getting under your skin. And I say this as a compliment than Chris Paul is.
I had a tough year last year. People think it's sweet, man. People think it's sweet because I was down. I didn't hear none of this my 10 years in the league. But last year, people living on that last year. And I got an answer to that.
So a lot to digest there from the altercation you just saw during the Clippers-Suns game last night. And you just heard Paul George say he didn't hear as much trash talking as he's experiencing now. Ramona, are there still lingering questions about Paul George on the court that he has to address?
Yeah, and there will be until they win. I don't think there's anything he can say other than winning and other than just playing great every night to silence his critics. Because we all know what happened in the bubble last year. We all know the Clippers melted down. We all know he hit the side of the backboard, okay? We all know, right? But the thing with Paul, that something that we in the media appreciate but also hurts him in some ways, is he is so open. He's so telling you exactly what he's feeling in that moment, which is great. I want to know. Don't you want to know? Makes for good TV, makes for good stories. But I think he might have to stop that a little. Just, like, if you prick him, he bleeds. And I think he just needs to not let anyone get close to him. Don't let anyone get under your skin. Don't be so open. Don't put your guts on the floor all the time, because people are using it against you at this point.
Yeah, I think, too, part of me, I disagree from the standpoint of I do want to see this more from Paul George. I want to see that guy that's ready to go to war at all costs, who's ready to put it all on the line and show people how important this really is to him. Not that he hasn't before, but I look at the Clipper team and I see a cool team, talented as hell, well coached, but they got some mellow guys on that team that play a smooth game. And I just think the team in general, other than Patrick Beverly, I think the team needs one of those stars to bring this kind of ferocity to the table. So I think it's a good thing for him, but I also think Devin Booker is smelling blood in the West. He sees that shooting guard spot. He thinks he's the best. One, he thinks he's the best player on the floor, period, which most nights he is. But he's also looking at that two-guard spot saying, I'm the best in the West, and I'm going to show you. And that is just what's going to be from here on out. It's the land of the Wolves.
I was interested to hear Paul say, hey, it wasn't like this for my first 10 years in the league. And look, that is the cost that comes with going to a market with more eyeballs. And I am not in any way taking a shot at Indiana or Oklahoma City. There is just math involved. There are more people, physical people, to watch what you are doing when you play in Los Angeles. And the advantage of that is you get more endorsements because you control and impact those eyeballs. But the flip side is that when you come up short, and they unquestionably did last season, that more people are seeing and remembering and talking to you about it. And you heard the announcer in that clip, I don't know who was on the call there, but saying no one gets under your skin better than Chris Paul.
Oh, and he is the best.
He is a champ at that.
And the Clippers have championship aspirations. They are truly a contender, right? OKC, they were there knocking on the door. Indiana, they were kind of knocking on the door. The Clippers are true contenders. People are going to come after them, and how they answer the bell throughout the season, I think, will tell a lot about their overall success.
I do like Paul's response there, and tied up in that, as you put it, Ramona, tied in up with him putting all his guts on the floor with how he feels to hear this, the fact that he is hearing it, was his response. And I'm happy with the overall comment because he said, I have to prove it to people. I know that. I'm on a mission to do that this year. I think that's a big deal to hear him say that. I give him a lot of credit for having that kind of accountability, and he really has since the first time he stepped in front of a podium for the Clippers this season. So I'm interested to see where we go there. And I want to talk about the other side of that matchup, too, because the Suns tied for the second best record, not in the West, guys, in the league at 5-2. Our researcher, Michael Schwartz, could barely come to work today because of all the dancing he's been doing for the past week. They are third in defensive efficiency, fourth in net efficiency, and first in limiting opponents' made three-point field goals per game. I told you our researcher is a big fan of this team. We get all the stats for the Phoenix Suns. Fizz, are you buying the Suns' hot start to continue deep into the season?
I absolutely am buying it. First off, let's credit James Jones with putting an awesome team together. Monty Williams should have never been an assistant coach. This guy is a big-time head coach in the NBA. He's a tactician. He gets the most out of his guys. And you're talking about Chris Paul, the great competitor. You're talking about a Devin Booker who's breaking through to getting into conversations like MVP. And you got a big-time 7-footer who's back there learning how to defend on a nightly basis and bring energy and effort to the game. I like them. I don't know if they can hold this spot. But I think that we are looking at a playoff team, and we're looking at a dangerous team when it comes to those playoffs.
Well, look, they were a team that was a revelation in the bubble, right? Like Devin Booker was the star of the bubble. They were great. But when you add a guy like Chris Paul, the question is it going to be a seamless transition? So far, it has been. And I think the big stat that you put up there that is most telling to me is they're doing it with defense. It's not just about the way Chris Paul's organizing the offense, the way Devin Booker can score, the way Bridges is hitting three-pointers right now. Like Devin Booker hasn't actually been as good as he was in the bubble. He's 5.5 turnovers a game. He's got to clean that up a little bit. But when you have that defense, when you're organized on that end of the floor, you're going to be in a lot of games. And I think that's where you give credit to Monty Williams and his staff for bringing this team together on that end of the floor.
Absolutely. And I think Chris Paul and Monty Williams already had that connection.
For sure.
So talking about seamless, I mean, you already played for a guy. You've already been in the trench with him. You know what to expect from him. Monty handed that thing over to Chris, and now he's got a coach on the floor. I expect this team to be really good this year.
All I know is when the karma fairy is walking around handing out good things, Monty Williams deserves all of them. All the good karma for him. And I would also say, look, 5-2, it's a start, right? It's not going to guarantee a playoff spot. It's not going to do any of that stuff. But I will say it's a shorter season. I just have to keep saying it. Each game is not one of 82. It's one of 72. That makes a difference. And so these starts are something we got to pay a little bit more attention to.
I agree.
I do want to take some time to pay our respects also to Paul Westphal. Died at the age of 70 on Saturday. Westphal diagnosed with cancer in August of last year. As a player, he won a title with Boston in '74, then helped the Suns to their first NBA Finals appearance in '76. As an NBA coach, Westphal went 318-279, including a trip to the '93 Finals and 2 conference semifinals with the Suns. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019. And, Coach, can you just tell us about the impact Paul Westphal had on basketball coaches at all levels?
Oh, I mean, he had a huge impact on coaches. I think what he did with that Phoenix team was fantastic. That team was so fun to watch. They were exciting. And if it wasn't for a guy named Michael Jordan, you know, we'd probably be talking about the Phoenix Suns.
Who? I'm sorry.
But, you know, as
mentioned on this network.
As a player, you know, my grandfather, and I'm black and white, so I can say this. My grandfather would always say, that's a bad white boy.
You speak for all races and all people.
Exactly. So I can say that he could ball. And I think as a ball player, he has so much respect from everyone. But then as a coach, I think he just had a great connectivity, and guys really liked playing for him. And I know some people that worked for him, they loved working for him. And it's just really sad to see, and condolences to his family. Look at that. What a career.
Well, his book came out this year, so you can go and read a whole bunch more about him. I was just impressed at how long a career he had and how much of an impact he made as a player, as a coach, on so many of the great players in this league. And you talk about him as a player, he lost a bit of his career to injury. When he came back, though, comeback player of the year. And I think I just look at him, man, 70 years old. He just got diagnosed with this. It was real quick, and it's so sad right now when people pass, because you can't go see him. You can't talk to him. You can't tell him you love him.
Yeah.
Very difficult for a lot of the NBA family, because for as much as we just talked about all of his contributions on the court, there just isn't a person who spent time with Paul Westphal who wouldn't tell you, oh, well, he was even better as a human being. They're just, I mean, that's the impact he had on everyone he touched. So our condolences to his family and everybody who loved him. All right, guys, coming up, The Jump's longest running soap opera is back. Oh yes, it's spicier than ever. Play Pacific. All right, back to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols here with Coach David Fizdale, Ramona Shelburne. It's been a while, guys, but it's time to bring back our longest running Jump show within a show. Oh yes, cue that music. It is time for As the King's Turn. The last time we checked in on our heroes, winds of change had blown through the front office. Now, there's some intrigue surrounding the former 2 overall pick, Marvin Bagley. The issue, though, not prompted by Bagley, but plot twist by his father, who started some drama on Twitter this weekend. And that led to some other players' parents chiming in as well. Bagley's father tweeting and then later deleting a trade request. Please trade Coach Marvin Bagley III ASAP. I just love that he had to put in that it was Marvin Bagley III, not himself, not Grandpa Bagley. Luke Walton had to answer questions about it after the game Saturday, while Bagley deflected any questions on Sunday. Take a listen.
My message is always the same. We don't listen to any of that. You know, it's us within these walls, us within this locker room, and you know, we're in this together. So, like I always say, good or bad, whatever people are saying, we got to do everything we can not to let that affect what we're trying to get done here.
Hey, before we start, I just want to say, if there's no questions about the game tomorrow and what we're going to do tomorrow, please don't ask. I don't want to give any extra information or nothing. So if you don't have any questions about the team and tomorrow's game, just hold off on those.
That's the right thing for Bagley to say. Luke, though, who was hoping that there would be no further drama, guess what? Check Twitter, Luke! Sunday night, De'Aaron Fox's dad, Aaron Fox, tweeted, "Trade him," which he is not deleted, by the way. Darren, well, here's his reaction. Jesus Christ. See?
Oh, that's the greatest.
When we started As the King's Turn,
oh my God, that's
fans felt we were unfairly creating drama. We are just here to document the drama. Because the drama it's so there,
it's
Coach.
It's just fun. That's
what do you think about what's happening?
So I want to put a new. So game days, especially when guys are getting their ankles taped, we taping thumbs. We ain't letting dads tweet no more dads. Stay away from Twitter. Y'all too old for that anyway. Get off of Twitter. And this is the world we live in. People have instant access to express themselves. And you know, Luke gave the right answer. All right, it was just the right answer, and you should be blocking all of that stuff out. You don't need any of that. And if Marvin Bagley has a problem with the way he's being utilized, I always say this: go talk to Luke Walton. I've been knowing Luke Walton since he was 13 years old. This is the coolest cat on the planet.
Great.
If you can't communicate, go in his office and communicate. I don't know what's going on. So you have to go in there and be able to talk to coach. Now, if it doesn't change, then I get it. You're angry. You may have your agent call. But this kid's only played so many games in the last 2 years, and he's only, 13 games last year he played or something like that. So, I just think they got to have better communication internally and get those problems solved without using Twitter, because that damages culture.
Man, I'm just thinking about Luke Walton. having coached Lonzo Ball and dealt with the LeVar Ball thing.
He's got experience. He's got.
And, you know, those of us who covered this in LA, like, LeVar, Big Baller, was on Twitter, but he didn't really know how to use it.
Dad should not be allowed.
Good and bad. Good for all of Lonzo and the Lakers, but bad for all of us. But what I would say is, like, Marvin Bagley is upset because he's not playing in the fourth quarter. All right? He's playing a lot of minutes, but the closing lineup is Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes because Luke Walton trusts them. Okay, they've played a lot. As you mentioned, Coach, he's had a lot of injuries in the past, and he hasn't had a lot of time out there. So Harrison Barnes, who Luke Walton goes all the way back to Golden State with, is going to be out there in the fourth quarter. He's the vet. That's who they've been rolling with in the closing lineup. I get why his dad is mad. For those of us in the basketball world, we've known his dad. He's a very vocal guy. He's a very, I don't know, influential. That's a nice way to put it. Person in Marvin's life. But I think what Marvin's got to do is shut that down, which is what he had tried to do. And what the Kings need to look at this situation and say, do we actually need to trade him? Maybe he's got a point. I mean, they drafted him second overall. He hasn't been able to get healthy. You see these glimpses of how good he can be. You want to keep him around because one of these days he's going to blossom. He's going to be that player. And you're always going to be wanting to say, this is why we took him over Luka Doncic. This is why we took him over Trae Young. I get it. But there comes a point when you're going to have to decide whether to pay him if he keeps getting upset that he's not playing in the fourth quarter. If we don't see all that much progress this year, I think they should look at it. I think he would benefit from being in a different place where they're not necessarily always have to answer, why did you take him over Luka Doncic?
I was going to say, Ramona, this is why we took him over Luka Doncic train. Yeah. That has left the station. I'm sorry. There's nothing that Marvin can do. There's nothing the Kings can do. I don't know. Maybe if they win it, like, 4 titles with Marvin, maybe that train comes back in. But I gotta say, I wouldn't, if I was making front office decisions, try to hold that up as well. We gotta keep reinvesting in this loss to not that Marvin's a loss, but the decision, we have to keep backing a bad decision.
To them, they think, well, Luka Doncic is playing this well. Why Marvin should be playing this well? Because this is the first time Marvin's probably hit adversity in his life, in his basketball life. So is it really his fault or is it Luke Walton's fault? And this is where I think Dad's got to kind of step back, let the kid be a pro, deal with his coach face to face and solve the problem. And if you can't, then you move on. But you can't keep measuring yourself against Luka. Luka's in a different situation with the ball in his hands all the time. And you play with De'Aaron Fox, who's electric. So they have to figure that out.
De'Aaron Fox, hands down, best comment of this entire fiasco. He's on the all-time scoring list this weekend. Ramona, Melo certainly thinks he's got a few years left. How high do you think he can climb that list?
Look, I think he can get all the way up past maybe Hakeem this year. Last year he scored 895 points. Okay, that's well within reach this year.
Oh, yeah.
Elvin Hayes is a little above that, but I don't know if he can get quite there this year. But get ahead of Hakeem into the top 10.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's real reasonable, and I think if anybody should be in the top 10 in scoring in NBA history, it should be the guy that actually gets buckets in his sleep, because he came out of the womb scoring. That boy is a bona fide scorer. He's going to keep doing it to the last days that he play in the NBA, and when he's done with that, he's going to go to the park and cook some little kids. So that's what it is, and I see him jumping up that list, and I'm really happy for you, Melo. You just keep proving people wrong. You were almost out of the league, and now look at you. You're balling for a big-time team.
I would like to, the Melo is not a Hall of Famer crowd, which is getting smaller and smaller by the day.
Yeah.
Go take a look at that list. Just saying. All right, Zach LaVine dropped 39 in a win against the Mavs last night, who were without Luka Doncic. Now, after the game, LaVine told reporters, quote, "If I had just went out there and shot every time, could have gotten 50 probably, but I'm trying to win the game." Coach, what does that tell you about LaVine's growth?
Well, I'm really happy that he's out there looking to help the team win. I think he can still help the team win, because if he's capable of hitting 50, go get 50. I guarantee you, Coach Donovan is saying, if you can do it, do it. Just make sure we're winning games while you do it, like Steph did it.
Look, Billy Donovan coached a guy just like Zach LaVine. His name was Russell Westbrook. And I think that's the playbook you got to look for in how he's going to coach him, how he's going to empower him, because the Bulls are only going to be as good as he is.
I got to give Zach LaVine credit for how he handled the last couple seasons. There were some very difficult moments between the locker room and the coaching staff, and I actually thought he showed a lot of maturity through that. So I was not surprised to hear these comments last night, but you're absolutely right, Ramona, on Billy Donovan and moving forward. Let's talk about January 7th, because starting then, the league is going to require players and many team staffers to wear contact sensors during all team organized activities other than games. Ramona, this is obviously trying to accelerate the contact tracing plan and frankly, take some of the work off of people having to ask a bunch of questions and remember dates and names. The data is just going to be there. What do you think about that?
Well, look, people aren't going to like this because nobody likes surveillance. Nobody likes to feel like somebody's tracking them all the time. I know that was a big concern with players, especially when they were wearing the Oura Ring. By the way, I still got mine. Do you have yours? Look, we got to get over that. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and the way these outbreaks can grow within teams, we've seen it in other sports. In the NBA, you know, I just saw the story that Baxter Holmes had today about how exhausted trainers and people who are in charge of the contact tracing and the COVID protocols. Yeah, anything that makes this easier and better, we got to do. We got to get over our fear of surveillance for now.
Yeah,
for now.
And I can't say it any better than that. I mean, you just have a bigger responsibility to the league. It's bigger than just one individual, and I think this really takes a lot of pressure off the league and a lot of pressure off of players, so they don't have to keep track of a bunch of stuff, like you said. And if it's about playing games and keeping the guys on the court, I think the players should all, and everyone should all buy into this. I think it's going to help us. And
I want to stress, this is just for when they're at the team facility. Right. Frankly, there's a lot of cameras at those facilities. A lot of that stuff is being tracked anyway, just not in that kind of, very specific way that would help people trying to track COVID. So this is not for them in their free time. They do not have to wear a tracker once they leave the parking lot. But the idea is that when they're in the team facility, they will be able to know who is in a room with who if there is an outbreak. We saw with the Houston Rockets early in the season. Something starts ripping through the whole team. You've got to sit guys just for contact tracing reasons who don't even end up having COVID. It can be pretty devastating. This could help. All right, time for our League Pass game of the night. 9 games on the slate tonight, including Mavs Rockets on NBA TV, but national games don't count, right? So it's the challenge for the staff to pick. They picked tonight the top 2 teams in the East, both at 4-2 of the season. Yes, it's of course how you think I would be ending that sentence. Cavs Magic. Colin Sexton, by the way, breaking out for the Cavs. 26 points a game, good for 10th in the league. The Magic led in scoring by their 6th man, Terrence Ross. So, Coach, which team are you more confident in this season? Top of the East.
I'm going to say, well, not top of the East, but I just think the Magic have been where the Cavs are trying to get to, so I got more confidence in them to take the next step. Steve Clifford has done such an excellent job of being just a fundamental coach, making his team be a tough out every single night. They don't beat themselves. And I tell you, folks, I'm really happy for this kid. I think he's found a home. He's improving. People forget this guy was a top pick. And so I think they're more, stable right now. I think the Cavs are really young and fighting to get where the Magic have already been.
Yeah, the Cavs have been a great story this year. I'm really happy to see Colin Sexton taking that next step. Darius Garland is coming right along with him, and for a team that's been at just the bottom of the barrel the past couple of years, it's nice to see them have some success. You want to see them build on it. But the Magic of the team that they were a playoff team last year. I mean, this is a team that has won, that knows how to win. And the thing I'm most impressed with is a lot of their players heard their names in trade rumors over the offseason. It didn't happen. They didn't break up that core. They're staying together. Now, that's not to say that they won't. Okay, they could do that as the season goes on. But to hear your name in those rumors all summer-ish, I don't even know if we call the off season anymore. But to hear your name out there, and then to come back and get it together, and I think that they can build with this. They can go from here.
And they got Vucevic. That dude is the most underrated player, I think, in the league. This guy can do a little bit of everything. He spaces the floor. He can pass. He can post. He's just a heck of a player, and I think that a lot of times people sleep on how talented and how good he really is and how he makes everyone around him that much better.
To me, the Cavaliers are a great example of why coaching matters so much for franchises at that statement of their development. And that's not anything against Coach Beilein, but he just clearly was not the right coach for that young group. And Coach Bickerstaff has done such a tremendous job connecting with those players. And look, he was right there, right on the bench. And I think there was a lot of conversation between guys that there was a guy who they gravitated toward, and now we're seeing that pay off. And Fizz, that makes it can make, if you have big stars, I'm not saying anyone can coach them, but the margins are different. But with a team like that, it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and again, you're watching J.B. Bickerstaff get to put his stamp on this group. This is his team. He's got security in his job, and you're seeing that this guy can coach. It's not just getting along with these guys.
No.
This guy is preparing them and developing these guys at a high level, and you're starting to see it play out on the court.
Absolutely. All right, this just in at the buzzer.